What's up guys, and welcome back to Superhero Legacy. My name is Liam, and in today's video, I'm back with another podcast episode. If you're new here, welcome and thanks for tuning in. My videos always include 5 short segments. The first one will be a personal segment where I'll be giving my overrated and underrated Superman takes. That will be followed by a latest news segment where I'll be giving my review and final score for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. After that, we'll jump into an interactive segment where we'll do some more blind rankings. That'll lead into an informational segment where I'll be explaining the time when Supergirl became a Red Lantern in the comics. Finally, I'll end with an entertainment segment where I'll be breaking down a theoretical fight between Supergirl and Storm. So without further ado, let's have some fun and get right into it. Jumping into the personal segment, here are my overrated and underrated Superman takes. My first overrated take is Henry Cavill as Superman. Many people say that Henry Cavill was a perfect fit for Superman, however I disagree. Outside of him looking like Superman, I don't feel as if his acting or his energy quite gave the character like David Corenswet does. My next overrated take is Zack Snyder's Justice League. The original cut was garbage, and though the Snyder cut was better, it was still just better garbage, and I didn't care at all about black-suited Superman. My next overrated take is evil Superman variants. I never understood the appeal to darker versions of Superman, and it defeats the purpose of what the character means on a fundamental level. If you want an evil Superman, that's fine, but it's no longer Superman. My next overrated take is the All-Star Superman comic. Many regard this as the pinnacle of Superman stories, however I think it's very choppy and it doesn't do a good job at making a coherent narrative. My last overrated take is Superman and Batman team-ups. I think an occasional team-up is fun because it shows their contrast as characters, but if overdone, I think it defeats the point and becomes less interesting every time. Moving on to my underrated Superman takes, my first one is Superman villains. People talk about how good Batman's rogues are, but I think Superman's rogues are just as good, and we should see more of them in movies and not just Lex or General Zod. My next underrated take is the Death of Superman, the animated movie. This movie does the Death of Superman storyline 1,000 times better than Batman v Superman and perfectly captures what the character stands for. I don't hear enough people talking about it, and the Doomsday and Superman fight was absolutely peak. My next underrated take is Supergirl's backstory. I believe that Supergirl's backstory is way more interesting than Superman's, and though Supergirl does now have her own movie, I still think she gets heavily overshadowed by Superman. My next underrated take is Man of Steel action. Though I don't prefer the movie as a whole, I have to admit that the Kryptonian fights were absolutely insane, and I'm surprised that other movies, especially James Gunn's Superman, didn't borrow from it. My final underrated take is Kryptonian intelligence. Due to their awesome powers, Kryptonian intelligence is often undermined, but Kryptonians are actually very smart. They had an advanced civilization that used higher forms of technology and science. They also process information extremely quick and have been known to have a rapid learning curve when compared to others. That's going to be all my overrated and underrated Superman takes for now, so with that we're going to hop into our latest news segment to discuss my final score for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I created my own comprehensive scoring rubric, so I'll go over it one by one. For the protagonist, I'm going to give a 4. For the antagonist, I'm going to give a 1. For supporting characters, I'm going to give a 3. For character arc, I'm going to give a 3. For acting performance, I'm going to give a 3, which gives a 14 for this section. For character design, I'm going to give a 4. For visual effects, I'm going to give a 3. For soundtrack, I'm going to give a 3. For world building, I'm going to give a 4. For action scenes, I'm going to give a 3, which gives a 17 for this section. For the intro, I'm going to give a 3. For the ending, I'm going to give a 3. For cohesiveness, I'm going to give a 3. For style, I'm going to give a 4. For story, I'm going to give a 2, which gives a 15 for this section. For rewatchability, I'm going to give a 3. For entertainment, I'm going to give a 3. For emotional, I'm going to give a 3. For uniqueness, I'm going to give a 3. For memorable, I'm going to give a 3, which gives a 15 for this section, and a total score for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, a 61. For me, the biggest positive I have for this film is Millie Alcock as Supergirl. I thought she was perfect, and I can't wait to see her grow more into the role in the coming years. My biggest negative for the film was the resolution with the main villain. I typically support when movies deviate from the comics, but in this case, something very critical about the ending of the book was changed in the movie. In the comic, Supergirl's compassion and kindness throughout the journey has so much of an impact on Ruthie that Ruthie is the one to convince Supergirl not to kill Krem. In the movie, Supergirl convinces Ruthie not to kill Krem, which is fine, but then she goes on and kills Krem herself, and this was a character-defining change that really bothered me. Whereas Superman is supposed to symbolize maintaining good despite a dark world, Supergirl is supposed to symbolize maintaining good despite a dark past, and the ending in the movie completely disregards that, which takes away from her character journey in a big way for me. Now that we've discussed my review and score for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, it's time for us to hop into our interactive segment with some blind rankings. Here's how it'll work. You'll have to rank 5 things in each category without knowing what comes next. There will be 5 categories, and feel free to pause the video to give yourself more time. The first category will be Kryptonians, and the first one I'm giving you is Jonathan Kent, aka Clark's son. The next one I'm giving you is Power Girl. The next one I'm giving you is Connor Kent. The next one I'm giving you is Supergirl. And the last one I'm giving you is Crypto. The next category will be Superman villains, and the first one I'm giving you is Bizarro. The next one I'm giving you is Brainiac. The next one I'm giving you is Doomsday. The next one I'm giving you is Cyborg Superman. The last one I'm giving you is Mongol. The next category will be Superman duos, and the first one I'm giving you is Superman and Batman. The next one I'm giving you is Superman and Lois. The next one I'm giving you is Superman and Lex Luthor. The next one I'm giving you is Superman and Supergirl. And the last one I'm giving you is Superman and his son, aka Jonathan Kent, as Superboy. The next category will be live-action Superman suits, and the first one I'm giving you is the black suit from Zack Snyder's Justice League. The next one I'm giving you is the Man of Steel suit. The next one I'm giving you is David Corenswet's suit from Superman. The next one I'm giving you is Christopher Reeve's suit. The last one I'm giving you is Brandon Routh's suit from Superman Returns. The last category will be movies, and the first one I'm giving you is Man of Steel. The next one I'm giving you is the original Superman movie. The next one I'm giving you is James Gunn's Superman. The next one I'm giving you is Superman Red Son, the animated movie. And the last one I'm giving you is Batman v Superman. That's going to be it for our interactive segment, so it's time to move on to our informational segment to talk about the time Supergirl became a Red Lantern in the comics. During the Red Daughter of Krypton storyline in the comics, Supergirl was chosen by a Red Lantern ring and was consumed by grief and rage after the death of her family and the destruction of her home. Unlike most Red Lanterns who are controlled by the rage, Kara eventually learned to control the ring's powers, giving her restraint. This concept was interesting because it used Supergirl's traumatic backstory to place her in a vulnerable position we would never get to see with Clark. Supergirl being a Red Lantern for a short while proved that the character is driven by anger and the emotional anguish of her past, but she doesn't let it define who she is. Later in the story, Kara eventually learned to control her dark impulses and rageful actions, so much so that she was able to reject the Red Lantern ring and free herself. She was able to do this due to her compulsion for good, her acknowledgement of grief, and her emotional resistance. The biggest theme of this story is that anger itself isn't evil, it's what you choose to do with it that matters. Rage is a natural response to trauma, and it's only after you learn to channel it when you can truly move on. Now that you've learned a thing or two about Supergirl, we're going to get into our entertainment segment where I'll be breaking down another Marvel vs. DC matchup. This time we're looking at Supergirl versus Storm. This fight would be interesting because both characters have great power and have the capability of defeating the other. Supergirl has all of your standard Kryptonian powers, but on top of that, she has considerable combat skills due to her early time on Krypton. Kara is also much less restrained than Superman, making her attacks more dangerous, and she's less likely to hold back. On the other side is Storm, who is an Omega level mutant, and I'd say her abilities are wider ranging. Her lightning bolts are insanely deadly and capable enough to put down Supergirl if she could land a hit. She also controls atmospheric pressure and is capable of collapsing the lungs in her opponents or causing massive migraines. She's able to manipulate all forms of water vapor, even inside of other beings, allowing her to destroy enemies from the inside. Additionally, she can create planet-sized thunderstorms, blizzards, and typhoons. Her winds are also powerful enough to incapacitate some of Marvel's heaviest hitters and even create force fields durable enough to tank destructive forces. Though Storm has massive power output, I typically think of her as a glass cannon. One hit from Supergirl would be enough to end it. I just don't think Storm can keep up with Supergirl's speed, and her force fields aren't strong enough to tank a fully powered Kryptonian. I love Storm, but Supergirl is coming out on top. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Please like and subscribe for more superhero content and share your thoughts on the topics discussed down in the comments below. You can check out some of my other videos right over here, but for now, thank you so much for watching and stay super.